Hello. Hello everyone. This is Anchored, the Masterclass. Just waiting for people to hop on into the live. And I'm so excited to be bringing this information to you out of inspiration. So Anchored is all about how to navigate the storms, the weathering of life. These are uncertain times, unusual times. How do we navigate? Hello, Kelsey. Hello, Ange. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited, and I want this to be interactive. So as you're hopping on, share where you're from. Share what you are hoping to get out of this. Dino, you're so sweet. You're a true inspiration. You inspire me. So I'd love to hear where everyone is tuning in from and what shifts you're hoping to make in your life. So this is all about shifts. We're going deep, guys. I trust that everyone in here is ready to go deep as well. So say hi. Let me know that my audio is fine too, that you can see me, that you can hear me. Dino is from the Philippines, used to be a coach at a gym. I know that he is an entrepreneur. Hello, Talia, here from Boston. Excited to be here. I'm so excited that you're here as well. I'm so stoked. So we have people from the Philippines, people from the US, people from Germany. Hello, Michelle. Hello, Tina. Yeah, from the Philippines as well. Amazing. Mia, all the way in the Philippines. I love it. My people. It's about 11 in the evening over there, but you are here. Eileen as well. Hello. Patricia. Hello. Heidelberg, Germany. Yes, Julieta. Oh my goodness. Everyone's hopping on. This is so exciting. So this is the energy that I'm loving, and I just want to acknowledge that you're all bringing that energy into this space right now. Let's make this fun. Let's make this interactive. Let's make the most of this hour. Serena is also in Boston, so fellow Bostonians can connect. So glad that you're here, Serena. So if you don't have a pen, paper, something to take notes with, I encourage you to, and that's because today's masterclass is going to be transformational. It has the power to transform you, whether it's during the masterclass, whether it's an hour after the masterclass or a year, but I want you to be fully present today. So I'm going to go through some tools, methodologies. We're going to go through a lot of information, and I want you to be present and write down anything that stands out to you in your notebook so that you can enjoy the present moment and you can revisit those notes, because that will be so key. And I'm going to tell you exactly why as we come to the end of it and wrap up, how you can use those takeaways of yours at the end of the session. So get comfortable, grab your glass of water, your tea. I have a bunch of water with me because hydration is so important. And so Anchored, 60 minutes. I have lots to share with you, and there's only so much that I can share in a 60-minute window. So share your thoughts, share your insights. We're going to make this interactive. We're going to make this fun. And I'd love for you to share, what shifts are you hoping to make in your life? Whether it is a career shift. I've had a lot of people reach out to me recently wanting to make career shifts, and 2021 is the perfect time to do so. Perfect time to reinvent yourself. Are you wanting to transform your body? Are you wanting to transform some habits related to health? Are you wanting to shift your mindset? Let me know what it is that you are wanting to shift in your life. And I'd like for you to think about, I know that a lot of you are thinking about that, I'd love for you to think about what are the things that are taking energy away from you. Hi, Julieta. Hi, Lana. Hi, Joey. Thank you for joining. So as you're hopping on, I want you to think, so you can share it in the chat if you like, but I'd like for you to think about what are the things in your life that require a lot of energy. They might be events, they might even be people, they might be things that take energy away from you, where you feel drained after rather than feeling energized. Talia, transform my confidence. Yes. Patricia, mindset, health, and own business. Amazing. Thank you for sharing. These are amazing shifts. Amazing shifts. And I know you all personally, so I get to witness this. Giselle wants to transform her health. Amazing. So important. Health is wealth, indeed. So, as we dive into this information, this content, again, it's going to be powerful. It's going to be full of info, but just enough. So make sure you have something to take notes down so you can revisit them after this session. And I want to start by saying that transformation starts with intention. So by just dropping in what your intent is, what you're wanting to shift, that's one way to start. It also begins with a commitment, and it starts with being open. So for those who are ready to make a radical transformation in their life, I'd love for you to drop in the chat, I'm ready. That's it. Drop in the chat, I'm ready. If you're ready for radical transformation, whatever it is, health, career, confidence, mindset, business, I want you to say that for yourself. I'm ready. And then we're ready to rock and roll, as my dad loves to say. Whew, I'm ready. Transformation. So, anchored, dropped in as an inspired title to this masterclass. Amazing. Giselle is ready. Yes, Eileen is ready. Transform mindset, habits, health, business. Michelle is so ready. I know you're so ready, Michelle. An anchor dropped in out of pure inspiration. And I'll tell you what, this is a symbol that's been in my life for a very long time. And we see symbols of anchors everywhere, whether it's on flags, on maps, in verses, in text. It's a very beautiful visual and symbol that's been in my life. And the reason being is because I knew deep down, just like every single one of you in here right now knows deep down, the importance of anchoring ourselves, of being deeply rooted in something so we don't fall, so we don't get blown away by the winds and the storms in life. Eileen is ready. Talia, yes. So this is actually, it looks like an anchor, but it is one of my favorite marine animals, which is the Manta Ray. But it does look like an anchor. This will be the perfect visual for us because the anchor, Tina's ready. The anchor is formed just like this. It has the shape and the base just like that, the two prongs at the bottom. I love it, Talia. And so this is the importance. And Serena's ready too. Oh my goodness. Hearts everywhere. I love it. Mia's ready. Yes. Deep transformation, team. And transformation begins deep. There's the shallow change that can happen, whether that's long-term or short-term. I am in for the deep transformation because I know that this runs deep and it lasts much longer, just like an oak tree, just like any tree. Think of any tree that has stood for 100+ years. Those roots are deep. They're not shallow. They will stand in the storms. They will withstand the potential cyclones. And if the top half is gone, the base is there because the roots are so deeply embedded into the soil, just like an anchor. The way that an anchor works, the mechanism of it, is the head drops on the seabed. The ship actually shifts backwards, and the two ends, just like you see here of an anchor, get rooted, get set into place into the ground of the seabed. The ship then moves forward and then it is locked into place. And that is the visual that I'd love for you to imagine in your mind today, because this is what we're going to play with. We're going to play with the anchor in our life that we might go through a bit of the shift back, shift forward until we settle into place and we are locked in there, ready for what life has in store for us. So I'm super ready, And I'll tell you, every single person in here, I'm sure, has been through storms, has walked through fire. I've walked through fire. I'm sure that many of you have gone through hurt, pain, emotions, fear, doubt, uncertainty, moments of not being sure of your worth, not feeling loved, feelings of stress in a world where we're expected. Well, previously in my former corporate job, I was definitely expected to work 24/7, no time for bathroom breaks. All of that time that used to be dedicated to traveling from A to B, point A to B, was now checking emails and responding to them, getting on Zoom calls back to back to back to back. And so the importance of being anchored is ensuring that we protect our energy, that we're rooted somewhere and we actually know who we are. Our identity is a big piece of this, because without knowing who we truly are, we might question things like our worth. Are we worth this? We might not even recognize that there are depleters, energy depleters in our life that take energy, life force energy away from us, which then sacrifice other areas of our life, relationships, other areas of career. Instead of working at 100% or 110% capacity, we might be working at 60%, and that becomes our new normal. This is then normalized. It's so normalized, the busyness of work and even social settings. I used to have major FOMO, fear of missing out, in social situations where I didn't want to miss out, and I said yes to everything. I was that girl. It was so hard for me to say no. Who's with me? Has anyone ever been a people pleaser? And no was the hardest thing to say. Has less letters than yes. It's 2 letters, 1 very short word, but it was so hard for me to say, yeah. But this is a big piece as we're talking of boundaries, and we're gonna get into this. Is one of the key points in being anchored is setting boundaries. And I'm here to lovingly nudge you to reflect on, and if you have your notes and your notepad, feel free to write things down. Don't judge, don't overanalyze, don't overthink about it. Just trust whatever is coming up for you, to write down some of those places where you definitely need to set boundaries. Relationships was a big one for me. I fell into cycles of unhealthy and abusive relationships. Yes, physically, emotionally, mentally, verbally abusive, because I didn't set boundaries. And life will lovingly present us with the same pattern event until we learn to step out of it. And I'm here to tell you that you have full power to step out of whatever is depleting your energy, and wherever it is that you need to set those boundaries, where you need to draw the line nice and hard with a stick, or maybe like a big black marker pen that you can't erase. And I was the type that in my mind, I set a boundary, but you know what? I danced on that line. I occasionally stepped over that line many, 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 many times. I was that person, yes. And so the first point that we are talking about when we talk about getting anchored is boundaries. Boundaries are here to protect us. And one of the visuals that I grew up with was when our parents tell us no, that we might be like, why is this such a killjoy? This is totally what I want to do. And I was reminded of, yep, Talia, boundaries are so hard. And we're going to go into this in the freedom of setting these boundaries and how it can actually be easy. But the visual that I was reminded of was, if you imagine a child that wants to touch the on the wall, the PowerPoint where you plug your hair dryer into, or you plug your fan into, and you don't want the kids to be sticking their hands in those electrical spaces. And so when the parents tell their kid, no, don't do that, it's not out of killing the joy of the situation, but it's to protect us. And sometimes, just like me, I've totally touched that touch point, been completely zapped from head to toe, and I learned the painful lesson, finally, after maybe being zapped 10 or so times. And it doesn't mean that you need to go through the fire again and again and again and again. And I was actually talking to my mom the other day about this, because this concept of walking through the fire came up. I told her, yep, Mom, I've been there, and I came out burned and scathed and scabbed, but I went through a very deep healing. But people don't need to go through this. You don't need to go through all of this. There are ways to set boundaries before you get too far and you're far too stretched. So number one, boundaries. They can be hard, but the way that we do this is by rewiring our brain. This is one way to do it, is to completely reset the program and to, over time, to put into place a new pattern, and over time it becomes much easier. I'll share one other example. So growing up, I am so thankful for my parents that are into health and fitness and lifestyle, and that is where I got it all from. Got it from my mama, got it from my papa. And so I grew up not drinking alcohol. Didn't drink alcohol growing up. And everyone around me did, right? I'd go to parties and every single person was doing it, and they would be offering me drinks. And in the beginning, it was uncomfortable. I had to set that boundary. For this, I was good. I was good at setting boundaries here, probably because my parents were very strong role models. I grew up knowing it as a truth. I took it on as my identity. I'm the one that doesn't drink, and I loved it, and I embraced it. Didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. And so the practice of saying no, so we're bringing this back to saying no, was uncomfortable because I had the people pleaser, but I also had to say no to people, to let people down, that this was not my choice of vice to have fun with, and I could have fun without it, which you totally can. But if you have a drink of wine, that's a whole other topic. But over time, I became more and more comfortable with saying no. And as the people around me understood that I was not going to be shaken and I was not going to say yes, when people would come up to me and offer me drinks, my friends would be the one to say no. I didn't even have to do it anymore. And that's how it starts to get easy, is we have to set that boundary. We need to practice. It's like a muscle. The muscle of saying no is definitely a muscle. Many times we might just easily, without thinking, say yes. This could be in the form of an assignment. This could be in the form of a project at work that you offer to take on, or someone asks you to take something on and you're like, yep, sure, I'll do that, knowing very well that your plate is already very full. Say yes when you mean to say yes. Say no when you mean to say no. My Tita Nettie, yes. Love you. So yes. Ensure that your yes means yes and your no means no. Many times did I say yes, that my words said yes, but my heart said no. This wasn't fulfilling. So this blends now and flows into the topic of fulfillment. When we align with our values, our identity, with the person, the life that we want to align with and create for ourselves, which we very well can, by saying no to something, you're saying yes to the things that you align with. And this resonates at a totally different level, because it brings joy and fulfillment. It brings purpose, and you start to allow more abundance to enter into your life because you're aligning with your truth, your true identity, which is a beautiful gift that you've been given, with your purpose, your highest purpose. And this is when we can either choose to go the more challenging route or the easier route, which takes that muscle of saying no to things and yes to others. So this, in many ways, is a dying to self. Being present, being aware, bringing awareness to these situations can shed a lot of light and allow us to steer in the right direction. And as we identify with our truest values, and I'd love for you, if you have your notebook, to write down what are some of those values that come up for you. They might be purpose, they might be respect. What are some of those values that you totally align with? You can revisit this after, but without judgment. I'd love for you to write that down. If you want to share it in the chat, feel free. What are those values that you deeply align with? Because this is the first step. In setting boundaries and being anchored, we must first understand our deepest values, what we stand for, and then to be able to rank those, should you choose. What is most present for you right now? Faith is a big value of mine. Faith is a massive anchor of mine that has been able to save me through many, many storms in life. I have other anchors, which we're going to talk about, anchored in my heart and in my mind very deeply. That took years to develop. Might I say very recent only, that they fully anchor in. They were sort of there. They weren't really anchored there, like the ship was there, the anchor was down, but it was not locked into place in the seabed. And these are anchors like self-love, self-worth, value, self-value, respect of myself. These are the other anchors that we have in our life. But I'd love for you to think about, what are those values that you stand for? You might have a moment come to mind where you were totally saved from a situation. And I'll tell you, it was likely that in some way or another you aligned with a truth because you deeply understood your value in that moment and you were able to change the trajectory of your life to come out of that situation, which could have come in the form of a person coming into your life. In many ways, that has happened to me. My mom has saved me in many situations. So grateful to God for giving her to me. It may come in the form of an email, may come in the form of a job. I've been once let go of a job, and that was actually a massive blessing. And I knew deep down that it aligned with my desires because this employer went against many of my values, but I didn't want to admit it at the time because the paycheck was very generous, very high. And there were lots of other benefits, but they were very superficial. And I sacrificed so much. But deep down, I had the values and I was swooped out of there. Or rather, I was let go. And so there might be things that happen in our life that we don't understand, that we might question. It might be a loss of someone dear to us. It might be a pain that we go through and we ask, why God? Why me? Why now? This is the worst time that this could happen. But if we could for a moment zoom out, remove ourselves as the victim, and trust that life is actually happening for us and for our highest good. And this is the beauty of being anchored. That we have the ability to align with our highest purpose, and this flows into every single aspect of our lives. Work, relationships, family, friendships, career. Whatever it is that you are deeply praying for, desiring, this is where it begins. And this is how transformation takes place, is stepping into your power, understanding your worth. But we first must be anchored. So, how's everyone doing? Whew, I'm almost getting emotional over here. I want to do a quick check-in. How's everyone doing? What is resonating with you? What is standing out? What is speaking to you right now in this moment? Feel free to drop it in the chat. I'd love to share it. And if you have your notebooks, I'd love for you to write them down as well. I am feeling so much love and so much energy. Whew. So share it in the chat if you would like. Thank you, Charlotte. Grab a sip, people. Talia, thank you. So glad you're here. You are all my anchors, by the way, in this moment, just sharing. You all being here, you are grounding me as well. I'm so excited. So boundaries. Scale of 1 to 10, how tough is it to set boundaries? But how inspired are you on a scale of 1 to 10 to set boundaries? Yes, Eileen. And when we release ourselves from the so-called limitations that we actually put on ourselves, that's when healing can come on an internal and external level. Water is important for the anchor. Yes, Lana, thank you very much. Water is so critical. Yes, stay hydrated, team. Boundaries are important to protect our energy. Your life force energy is so precious, and you have the power to step into your power and to take charge of your life through that. So keep on sharing your highlights, your takeaways, what is resonating. And I now want to talk about riding the wave of negative emotion. Perfect segue, Lana, talking about water is an important piece of an anchor, is riding the wave of negative emotion. So as we are setting boundaries, this might be uncomfortable. This might take years. I know I've had boundaries that I've crossed and it took years to finally anchor and put into place. Or they might take a day, where the shift takes a day. It might take an hour. Riding the wave of emotion. Emotion, energy in motion. Our physical being as the way that we are able to process the energy. It's a gift, truly is a gift. And I want to encourage you that any emotion that you feel that comes up in times of uncertainty is an absolute gift, because this is the indicator as to where we are as a baseline and where we would like to take it, where we can take it. So if what we feel is a negative emotion, all right, we can go through feeling that emotion, and then we can lovingly let it go, integrate what did that negative emotion teach me, transform it, transmute that energy, that emotion into something positive, integrate it back into ourselves with the learnings that we took from it. And to give a solid example, in my past relationships, I had the very negative energy of unworthiness, self-doubt, uncertainty, vagueness in the boundaries that I was intended to leave, to put into place. And over time, over bad relationship, over another bad relationship, I was able to integrate these emotions. This is a big, big topic that we can talk a little bit about. And then actually transmute it into confidence, worthiness, love. Talia says, I don't think I've ever benefited from trying to ignore the negativity. You have to move through it. Yes. Yes, Olivia, thank you for joining. So the only way out is through, right? And the more we ignore, the more we suppress, it is going to catch up to us in some way or another. The more we can release, lovingly release and integrate back in a healthier way. This is something that I talk a lot about in my coaching, is then we can use that as fuel that's inspiring and allows us to act from a place of love, deep, deep love, rather than hurt and pain, to then change the entire field, our entire world around us, every single interaction that we have then. A big, big lesson that I learned is that our external world is a reflection of our internal reality. And so what are we feeding into our internal reality? What are the words that we're speaking to ourselves? How do we perceive people? Instead of it being about the person, let's look inward and think, what is that thing that I am needing to learn in the situation so that I can transmute, totally transform from the inside, and then the external reality will reflect that. So Serena saying, at the time you are going through negative or hard experiences, you don't see it as something you can get through. Over time, you realize it makes you better and stronger. Absolutely, Serena, spot on. So, so important. So we can ride this wave of negative emotion by first acknowledging that it is a gift. Emotions are a gift. And if we can do our very, very best. We can feel into it, whatever you need to do. If you need to cry, if you need to take a shower, if you need to go for a run, if you need to do some push-ups, if you need to do some art, if you need to go out to the shooting range, if you need to go out, I know people who throw plates around in a safe space. They're not sacrificing their own plates, but hey, if you got some extra, to do what you need to do to channel that energy. It's not bad, it's not good, it's telling, and we just need to be able to channel it so we can transform and transmute. Ride that wave, and then take a deep breath. There are many ways to do it, but emotions are not meant to be ignored, that's for sure. They're meant to be expressed, as long as you're doing it in a safe, loving place with people that you love. You can ride that wave of negative emotion and completely transform it into something that is meaningful, that brings purpose, joy, life back into your life. Big, big topic here. Riding the wave of negative emotion, and I can totally feel when people are stuck at home, the negative emotions that arise, feelings of loneliness, of feeling secluded, totally valid. Number one thing about your emotion is that it's 100% valid, 100% matters. It is not wrong. And whatever you deeply think about it is likely to be correct, but it's about tuning into that emotion with a mindset of, instead of this overcoming my entire being, how can I use this for my better good? Because it is truly a gift. And this is the key to unlocking your next level power, your next level potential, because in that emotion is a next level power, the opposite side of it. From thinking below the line to now above the line. How do we make that shift? Very, very important. And this can translate into your work. Many times have I needed to do this with managers and bosses. Until I reach this point where I can now look at them and my reality, my external perspective on them has completely shifted because of what has happened inside of me. Right? We so many times can look at ourselves as the victim. Oh, but because this person said this or this person did this, ultimately we can take responsibility. That's the most important thing, is to take responsibility. And this is a big piece. It's a liberating piece, because then we take ownership of our lives. We then become the hero in our story. Rather than the victim, we become the hero in our story. Being anchored as well is an awareness of this, is that you are anchored, you are grounded, you know your worth, you know your identity, riding the wave of negative emotion and reconnecting with our highest self. So this is also a point that is related to balance in our lives, which I'm so excited to get into. Eileen says, saying yes to positive things, emotions, relationships, mindset, and no to anything negative that will affect those sides of the positive. Exactly, right? And I tell you, once you resonate in that higher frequency, and that is being in true alignment of who you want to be, where you want to be, and embracing everything that is in your current reality, in your now, when we fall back into those old patterns, it sticks out like a sore thumb. You're like, this doesn't feel right, because you're not in resonance. You're not in alignment with that old self anymore. Congratulations, you've now stepped into your next level self. But that will take some time, take practice, and practicing that no muscle, which is fun. What else is resonating before we dive into reconnecting to achieve balance? I need to make sure I stay hydrated. It's the most I've spoken today. Getting back into balance. So being anchored means that we can actually find balance in our life. I'd love for you all to imagine an anchor. You are the ship. You are the ship. What does your ship look like? Go ahead, paint something on it if you like, name it. oh, that's where I am. I've fallen into old patterns. Totally, totally understand, Charlotte. And you know what? Amazing that you've identified that. You've brought that into your awareness. Now what is next? What choice can you make to break the pattern? Again, patterns are and can be in the form of a habit, which are formed by these neural pathways in our brain, which take time again and again and again and again and strengthen. So what we need to do is actually rewire the brain and create a new pathway. So whether that pathway, to keep things very simple, let's say that the pathway is yes, and this pathway is like, yes, I'll do this, yes, I'll do this, yes, I'll do this, that don't serve us. And that neural pathway becomes strengthened, becomes a habit, becomes a pattern in our life. What we must start to do is to practice the other side, which you already know what that would be. And then strengthening that neural pathway. Wondered why I felt so bad and odd. Yay, 6-week glow will definitely help. So it's normal. Know that everything that is present for you in this moment is perfect. And there is a gift in what you are feeling. So balance. Who would love to achieve more balance in their life? I've always been that candle that burned at both ends. That's not very balanced. I was burnt out. Work, burnt out. Relationships, trauma, abuse. I can say that lightly now, but it wasn't fun while I was going through it. Definitely not. But balance is all about, so as I said, imagine that you are the ship. You are the ship, paint it as you like. Yes, hands up, Talia. Yup. You are the ship, and an anchor is being dropped. Thank you, Tita, Rachi. Hello. There is an anchor being dropped, and I'd like for you to, so earlier on, if you were with me in the beginning, I asked you the question, what is that anchor in your life? Is there an anchor in your life? Is there a shift that you would like to happen? Now, we are going to use this visual of the anchor to anchor it into place. Yes. Right now. If you have notes, you can write anything that comes up for you down. But whatever shift it is that you want to happen, health, relationships, career, family, friends. Now you are the ship. We're dropping that anchor. If it is something that has come up in your life before, can you truly say that that anchor was deeply embedded, locked in place on that seabed? Answer for yourself. You can write it down. You don't need to. Just think. That anchor, that shift. Is this something that you've been wanting for a while? Or is it just something that's very recent? If it's something that you've been wanting for a while, has that anchor been in place? Because if it was in place, your set of values, sense of identity, sense of worth, chances are you may have achieved it to an extent, but was it really locked in the seabed? Just think about that for yourself. Now, whatever that shift it is that you would like to happen in your life, I'd like for you to imagine that same anchor. And I want you to imagine you as the ship. You're going to rock back. The head of the anchor is going to drop into the ground. And as it is dropping, I want you to imagine that shift that you want to happen, with in mind the value that must align with it, or values that must align with it. So we have this intention, we have a goal, we have a shift that we want so deeply to take place in our life. Is it health? Is it career? Is it a promotion? Is it my own business? Is it a relationship that I need to that I need to step away from? Yes, Eileen, thank you for sharing. Anchor into the Lord, faith, good relationships, mindset, habits. Yes. Now, you have that vision of the shift. Now, the anchor is going to represent your value. What is the value that aligns with that vision? If it is career, maybe it is consistency. What is the value that aligns with that shift? If it is health, what is the value that aligns with that shift that you want to take place? If it's relationships, which mine very much was, what is the anchor that needs to be set into place, locked into place? Is it self-love, self-worth? Is it respect for self? Now, we are rocking forward as the boat, and we are digging the ends, like you see here, of that anchor, locking it into the seabed. Whoop, locking it deep. It is secure. It's locked into place. And now, as you shift, you're not going to float away. You're not going to topple over. You're now integrating. This is the first step if you are really serious about making this shift in your life. This is the visual, and I'd love for you to feel, how does that feel? Was it scary? Ooh, I'm committed to this now. I had a vision, I had something I wanted to shift, and I actually had to make a commitment to make a change. How does it feel? Or does it feel exciting? Oh my goodness, yes, this is what I needed. This is what I've been waiting for. I can finally align my vision with my value, and it is locked into place, and I am ready to go. Right? So we're not setting sail to the ship. No, we're making sure that we're anchored in first, because we need to build on this foundation first. So how does that make you feel? Share if you need to. Write it down in your notebook. Does it make you feel excited? Was it nerve-wracking? We weren't actually a ship. We didn't really set any anchor down into place. But I know that it evoked an emotion. It evoked an emotion in me. So I'd love for you to observe that emotion. I'd love for you to observe it, acknowledge it lovingly, and think, ooh, this is good. I feel something because I care about it. Do I want to make a change? Am I serious about this? And so then we can start to achieve balance. Because once we lock everything into place, once we have set the intention, we have set the commitment to ourselves, once we said we are in, we are ready to go, we can build up from that foundation. Now we set the boundary. Now, rather than it being like a cuff, a restriction, this is where we are actually, and can be this is a very freeing moment when we anchor ourselves, because we stand firmly in place in something. Just like that visual of the oak tree or the eucalyptus tree or whatever tree is native on your land, in your country, that beautiful 100-year-old tree that digs its roots into the ground. And you know what? Those roots can many times break cement. Have you seen that? You walk along a sidewalk and there's a root that comes up out of the ground, breaks through the cement, and actually has this massive bump in the cement that you have to walk around. But whoa, is that powerful? And these are the roots that I'd love for you to imagine. If you're really serious about this transformation, and there are many transformations that take place over many times. It can be a skin transformation, it can be a fat loss transformation. It starts with a mindset, starts with an intention, translated into an emotion, and then turned into an action. We take action. It happens in that exact order. Every single thing that you see around you, take a look around, that started with a thought. Yes, it did. Amazing. Isn't that amazing? This phone that I'm on right now, the chair, if you're on a chair, if you're on the ground, started with a thought. Same thing with you. You can construct that reality for yourself, but you need to be anchored in something. Otherwise, you'll build a little bit here and you'll build a little bit there, and it doesn't really look like a full constructed thing, right? Whatever that means to you, if it's your health, relationships. We're coming to the end very soon, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some other ways that you can apply this before we wrap up, but I would love to do a bit of a check-in. How is everybody feeling? What is resonating? Is there anything that's coming up? What has been the most useful tool for you today out of these three main topics? I love talking about this, but we've so far talked about boundaries. Love it. Riding the wave of negative emotion and reconnecting to achieve balance, which is all rooted in living a fulfilled life. And I promise it flows into every other aspect of your life if we just get that right. Talia's feeling anchored. Yay, I'm so glad. Seeing all the anchor emojis, I love it. Fun fact, I once thought about getting a tattoo of an anchor on the side of my foot. And that's how serious I was about this symbol. And only now, 10, 15 years later, never would I have thought that I would be giving a masterclass with the topic anchored, but these are the seeds that are planted deep within us, our deepest desires. These are the codes. Can you imagine that exact symbol 10, 15 years ago? That was definitely indicative of something that would unravel in its perfect time. And that's the same in every single one of your lives. Intention, emotion, action. Beautiful, Giselle. Yes, so important. And so one way, as we get into a bit of an application, so we've anchored in, we understand some of our values, and you can take a lot of this away. You can re-listen to this afterwards. You can integrate fully, and if you need to do some more journaling, I definitely encourage it. But something that we can do if you are going through a situation where you're trying to make sense of a pattern or a habit or a cycle that you know is something that you want to break out of, we can lovingly look back at our life, and if we sit with it, if we're quiet and we're still, it will reveal itself, and we can shift, we can float from that moment in time to our present, make sense of it. We can float to our vision of the future, float back to where we are, and come into a full understanding of what it is that was, that is, and what can be. And you can steer yourself in the right direction. I did a very recent post on Instagram about the rudder of a ship, and the rudder in comparison to the ship can be upwards 1/60th the size of the ship in terms of the area where the rudder is, right? The rudder steers the direction of a massive ship. And can you believe, whatever the rudder is in your life, wherever you are in your life, one tiny degree, okay, you make a shift. All right, so from point A to point B, it's not too far what to expect here because it's new territory, so you might float back. But when we steer, take a very micro change, over time, from it being the same point, can totally steer you in a very, 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 very different direction. You're in a totally different country, right? So that is the power of the rudder in your life, and whether you choose, which you can do, should you desire it, make the shift. Might not look different after a day, might not look different after a month, but I tell you, a year later, you are not the same person. You're not living the same life. You can choose to. Should you choose to, you can, if that's the reality that you want to live in. We get anchored, and then we shift the rudder. So it's okay to use exercise to move through negative emotions. Yes, I wasn't sure if it was distracting myself. Exercise is my anchor. Charlotte, thank you for sharing. Anchored in exercise. That is a huge anchor for me as well. Amazing. Gosh. You know, I wrote up a whole bunch of notes. Don't think I even stuck to them. But I trust that this has resonated with you all. Now, we are wrapping up very, very shortly, but I would love to hear your takeaways before I dive into what this can look for you next. Something to do with goal setting and balance that I want to mention is specificity. So if we want to make a change in our lives, we can set a timeline. right? So things might happen on, before, or maybe a little bit after we set that timeline, but by setting intention, just like Giselle has said, by setting intention, we can be specific, and there's power in being specific. Just like when we drop that anchor into place, and you might have felt an emotion because it was a bit of a, ooh, reality setting in. Let's actually make a shift and a change that is a very powerful transformation that can happen. Same thing with setting a time and a date for something is setting an intention and being serious about it. God and faith is my anchor. I'm the same, Tita Rachi. Everything follows, leads to peace. Say yes to align with the truth, Eileen says. Say yes to align with the truth. So today, as we wrap up, so I will be sharing what you can do. If this has served you, please drop an anchor emoji. If this has served you, if you've gotten some value from this, please drop an anchor emoji. I came in late, but at the right time to anchor to the thought that I am already enough and everything else is an extra. Yes, Jasmine. Yes. And if no one has told you today, to every single one who is in here right now, you are so worthy, you are so loved, and you were designed to enjoy the life that you are living right now. You were created to enjoy this life that you're living right now. You were designed to enjoy and take pleasure and joy in this life that you're living right now. Without a doubt, without a doubt, without a shred or shadow of a doubt. Mia, Jasmine, Patricia, Tina, Rachi, Lana, Eileen, Charlotte, Talia, I see you. Yes. Yes, 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 and yes. Whew. I love it. So, the little bit of homework that I have for you is to take whatever notes that you have taken today, to integrate it, to go away from today. Yes, Aljan, I see you. Take it away with you today, after today, and do any further integration that you need to. Giselle, Olivia, I see you. And if you're feeling unsure, this is exactly what I work on with my clients. So I have put together a very, very, very special container. It's a one-on-one container that spans across 8 weeks. And this is where I work with very special, determined individuals who are ready, with a capital R-E-A-D-Y, to make massive shifts and transformation in their life. I've called this Transformula because it is the transformation formula. Jackie, I see you. Thank you. And so what we do inside this one-on-one container is for the women that I work with, if they are not sure what their purpose is, if they're feeling like they're walking in a desert, they are running off dry, they're feeling emotions of anger and they don't know how to process it, they're feeling sadness and they don't know how to process it, what we do is we work on it. We learn to understand those emotions that are unique to them in that moment, understand the events that go on. We do a lifestyle audit, we do a health audit, we do a mindset audit, we do all the audits to really make sure that we are coming from a place of the baseline and working our way up. We're breaking down and tearing down old constructs that are not true, the stories that we take on in life that are not true. Nilo, I see you. Hello. And this is what we do. So we walk on this journey of 8 weeks. Every single week we learn something new. We work together. We talk about whatever is present for them. We integrate it, allow them to go off into the world, come back, and then we process whatever is present for them. So I trust that you have gained value because I'm seeing all the anchors in the chat, which I'm so excited about. And if you are in a position where you're not sure where to go with this, if you're still kind of struggling and you might know what your values are, you might understand what your truth is and your identity, but you're not sure what to do with it then what? So that is what we do in Transformula. I love saying that. Transformula, my one-on-one container. And so if that is something that would help you in this journey coming out of this process, and if you have gone away from this live and you have figured a few things and you're thinking, all right, I want to go even deeper, then you're ready for absolute radical transformation, because we can transform. We will always transform, but it's whether it takes 40 years or it takes 4 months, whether it takes a year or a day. So I will drop the link in the chat after this live. I will send out an email for those that have registered, and I will be opening up my calendar for the next 48 hours, and there will be special bonuses. So for anyone who decides to join Transformula, you will get a complimentary access to my reset program, which is valued at $1,000. You'll also be gifted a special gift, and I will ship it to you, and this is valued at $450. And so if you would like to book a call with me, if you want to just understand what Transformula is all about, what it means to you, and how you can experience that radical transformation, I will drop the link. If you registered for this event, you will also get the replay of this in your inbox, so you can rewatch it. And you can also book a call with me through the link that I send here and in the email. So we'll have a chat, we'll jump on a call, see if it suits you. If not, very well, all good. I know that you're going to transform regardless, but if you're looking for someone to guide you through the process and to accelerate your process within that 8-week time frame, then I would be so glad. So after this live, we have about 3 more minutes. I want to open it up to any questions. Anyone who has questions, any thoughts, anything at all, drop it in the chat. But after this live, the counter is going to begin, 48 hours. The reset program valued at $1,000, and a special gift that I'm going to handpick and send out to your address valued at $450 will go over to you. That will be available 48 hours after this live, as long as you book a call with me within that 48-hour period. So, any questions? How to find my anchor? Ooh, Patricia, yes, that is it. So this is what we're going to talk about. So we did go through how we can identify the anchor in this live. So if you want to revisit it once the replay is available, lost yours. I tell you, Patricia, it is not lost. It is not lost. It might just be, you are the ship, it might just be drifting a little bit, but it is certainly not lost. I'll tell you that. Yeah. And that anchor can also represent hope. Hope for the soul. Hope for our soul. The anchor represents our purpose, our deepest why. Reflect on these things. And if we sit in the quiet, I trust that it reveals itself in the perfect time, but it is not lost. What I do in this one-on-one container is to merely use the tools and methodologies to be able to uncover your anchor without it needing to take months, if not years. Because we use these tools and methodologies to uncover very rapidly your purpose so that you can start living the life of freedom. We do emotional clearing so that you're not holding on to any baggage. We identify the blockages so that you don't have to walk around feeling blocked up, but you actually feel free and you know exactly what to do when those things come up. So that is the purpose of this container, is that you eliminate the guesswork. I've been through the trial and error. And so by going through this process, it is a process, a guided process in a safe container where we basically uncover it in a rapid period of time because you have accountability. We all have the ability to find these things, but whether we are actually disciplined enough to sit and to listen and to use the tools that actually work to uncover these things is another story. So that's what I love about working with the women that I work with, is that every time we have a call scheduled, And I hear this, they say this, they actually say this. They say, oh my gosh, I have a call with you. And because I have a call with you, I actually have to do the work, and I need to work on myself, and I need to work on the things that we talked about last week. Otherwise, what am I going to show for this session? Because we make the most of that 1 hour session together. We've spent an hour together, but what we do is we break it down specific to them. This has been very general. We had about 23, 25 at one point people in here. Very general. But what we do in that one-on-one container is it's very much geared toward you and your purpose. And what are you going to do about it? So, I think I'm all talked out for today. Any questions, team? I'm going to drop the link. If you are feeling a bit of excitement, a bit of uncertainty, that is good. If you're not sure where to take this and you need a little bit of guidance, if you want to jump on a call, I make myself available as early as tomorrow, 48 hours for the bonuses, to grab those, valued at about $1,500 within the next 48 hours. So, and I do this because I appreciate, there's an energetic shift that happens when people actually invest in themselves, and they invest in it quickly. Fast action takers are ready to take action. And that's why the 48 hours, because I am inspired by people who are ready for change. I've spent so much time working with people who weren't ready for the change. I poured so much time and energy, and it all comes down to you. So, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. I trust in your transformation that's going to happen after this call. And if you experience any radical changes and shifts, please share it in the group. Please, please, please. People need to hear it. People need to know about this work. People need to understand their worth and their value now more than ever. Am I right or am I right? You are also valued. You are also loved, radically, beautifully, wonderfully protected. You were created to love the life that we are in this beautiful journey called life. So I will be online. My inbox is open. If you're not sure where to go from here, drop me a message on Messenger, and I will drop all of the relevant links here. And if you are registered to the newsletter, I will send an email as well. So with that, team, I love you all so much. Thank you for being here. Enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, and I will see you again very, very soon. Bye.